Thanks, Dr. Nikhil, for those kind words. Uh, right at the onset, I would like to thank Dr. Partha Biswas and the AIOS for the lovely effort done in spite of all these problems to have this lovely virtual meeting, and for having had this nice instruction course. I do not have any financial interest in any of the procedures or techniques mentioned in this particular course. Cataract surgery, like we all know, and like other speakers have also elucidated, that has now become a procedure which is far away from what it was in the past, which was just a vision restoring surgery, to a more precise and a more accurate and a surgery which has now slowly transformed itself into a precision refractive surgery. In today's era, when we plan everything, that is plan our travel, plan our meals, I think it's high time that we also learn to plan our cataract surgery right at the beginning. So basically, we need to see that even before you take the patient on the table, our surgery is well planned. Now, image-guided systems are the systems which are used not only for planning, but also for implementing these plans on the table. Image-guided systems which we've been using are basically of two types, the Varian and the Callisto. The Callisto has one disadvantage. The major disadvantage over the Varian is it does not have its own measuring unit, and it relies on the data which is acquired from the IOL Master 500 or the IOL Master 700 to which it is directly linked. In the Varian, on the other hand, you have a unit which helps to measure the keratometry. It has a planning station, and it has a surgical guide where there is an overlay during the surgery. Now, in the image acquisition, what happens is the measuring unit measures the scleral vessel. It takes a high definition photograph of the scleral vessel, the limbus, and of the iris. Now, this creates a unique fingerprint of the eye, which is used for registering and tracking the eye during the surgery. And this will also help us prevent any errors due to cyclotorsion which occur when the patient from a sitting position moves into a horizontal position. It also measures the corneal spherical power. And this corneal spherical power is measured by the back and forth movement of the console with the help of the three infrared LEDs. And this is what happens is the unit takes about 300 infrared images over a period of 20 seconds and scans an area of about 0.8 to 1.2 millimeters of the cornea with the help of 900 plus corneal reflections. The corneal cylindrical power is measured with the help of the 12 white LED with the console in the still position, not in the forward and backward moving position. It takes about a second, and it is done with the help of 3 to 5 white light images over an area of about 2.8 millimeters of the cornea, and with the help of the 60 corneal reflections. The end result after measurement is a picture like this, where you have the data of the limbus, that means the white to white, the pupillary data, the pupillary diameter, the steep and the flat K1, K2, along with the axis and the net cylinder. Once all these are acceptable, you could press the accept switch, after which this data is transferred to the planning station. The greatest advantage of the measuring unit of the Varian is that it can measure the corneal curvature and the axis in other conditions, in conditions where other keratometers fail, like in post-keratoplasty, pterygiums, corneal scars, post-archaic cases, to name a few. The other advantage is that this marks out not only the center of the visual, the center of the limbus, but also marks out all the three centers. That means the center of the limbus, the center of the pupil, and the visual center. The data transfer, like I said, is from the acquiring unit is now sent to the planning unit. In the planning unit, one can compare the K1, K2s of the various readings taken by the Varian along with the other fed-in readings, which could be either from the IOL Master, the Lens Star, or any other optical biometer. One having done that, you can have the IOL power calculation. There are various formulae which are pre-fed in the planning station, which also include the Barrett suite. And online, one can actually compare all the IOL powers which are given by the different formulae. At the same time, we can also select the right toric IOL power and the wound construction. One can change the residual cylinder by moving the main incision to either side of the horizontal, and this helps us to reduce the residual astigmatism after the toric IOL surgery. The IOL power selection here with the Varion is done not only on a spherical equivalent like in a normal optical biometer, but it gives you the post-operative refraction. Like here, it shows the sphere and the cylinder and the axis of what would be left behind after the surgery. It also gives you the expected post-operative SIA case. That means what would be the K value after the surgery with that particular type of SIA which has been fed in for that particular surgery. So the outcomes are totally detailed. You can also have a selection of either the optical or the ultrasound biometer, and the machine would automatically choose the A constant depending on the type of the biometer used. At the same time, you can have either you can choose either a virgin eye where no refractive surgery has been done, or you can choose a case where either a myopic or a hyperopic or an RK has been done as a refractive surgery. The IOL power for other ocular conditions like keratoconus, silicon filled eye, scleral buckle, or any other eye pathologies can be chosen, and the unit would therefore make the necessary adjustments in getting us the final IOL power. At the same time, one can choose either a phakic or a pseudo-phakic mode. And during the phakic mode, one can decide whether you want to place the lens in the bag or in the sulcus. And one doesn't need to then calculate what would be the power of the IOL when it's placed in the sulcus, because that would be directly displayed if we have chosen the sulcus mode. There is a list of lenses which are already there with the manufacturer given A constant, but we can feed in our own A constant. And like Dr. Avik mentioned, if one does an optimization, one can have a surgeon's own A constant here, which is again done by feeding in the post-operative data into the Varion at the end of the say 3 to 6 weeks, and therefore one can get the SIA one can get the personalized A constant without having to go on an online calculator. The SIA optimization, what Dr. Vavikar mentioned, the importance of the SIA optimization is also can be done here on an automated basis. The only important thing is to feed in the K1, K2 value of the pre-op value and the post-op value should be measured on the same unit. So if it is being measured on the Varion, the pre-op, the post-op also should be measured on the Varion to have a proper SIA. Arcuate incision can be planned. Can I take a minute and a half more, please?
You could, no problem.
So arcuate incisions can be planned. And here again, you can know the depth of the incision, the exact location of the incision, and this helps us in further decreasing the post-operative residual cylinder. Having done this, the data from the planning station is transferred to the operation theater unit with the help of a pen drive, and you get an overlay of all these details into the eyepiece of the microscope. So here you can get the exact position of the lens, exact position of the incision, which was planned pre-operatively. The main as well as the side port incisions can be planned, and this is displayed. The exact size of the rhexis as well as where the rhexis is centered is displayed on the overlay. So you can have the rhexis centered either on the visual axis or on the pre-op pupil center or in the center of the limbus. So here is a short video to show how this is done. So you see here the side port as well as the main incision. 3 incisions can be planned, the 2 side ports as well as the main incision. And the exact location without any cyclotorsion errors can be achieved with the help of this overlay. At the same time, the toric lens alignment with the help of a total horizontal axis line is seen. So both the positioning holes of the IOL can be exactly centered on this particular line, for the toric alignment. So it's very important to note that there can be an error of about 5 to 7 degrees when you use the normal conventional marking with an ink because of the smudged markings on the cornea. Now, this can give rise to a lot of residual cylindrical error in spite of using a toric IOL. This is therefore negated when you are using an overlay with a Varian. The final centration of the lens, again centered to depending on the visual axis or the pupil or the limbus, can be achieved as planned with the help of the overlay, which is very important in multifocal and aspheric IOL. Again, the finalization here after sealing of the wound can be achieved. And this is a small video to display here how this is done, and see the perfection with which a multifocal IOL is centered not only on the visual axis as well as the axis of the toric multifocal IOL is exactly matching the pre-planned overlay which is displayed. The other advantage of the Varian is that it can be coupled with the Lensex. So all the arcuate incisions, the incision which is done by the Lensex can be transferred to the Lensex, and therefore it can aid in getting better results even with the Lensexers. Thank you for your kind attention.